Hi and welcome back guys to the next stream, to the next online class. It is actually our sixth lecture, right? And I'm welcoming all of you. Some of the guys might hear, some of the student might be new here for this lecture, but don't worry, you can watch the previous lectures and then continue with this one. But you should bear with me, just try to understand this lecture, and I'm sure this will be really helpful to you guys. So welcome everybody, let's get started. In today's lesson, we're going to study about decision statements in C++ programming language. So what are decision statements? Decision statements are basically statements which executes on the basis of the condition, right? You can see right up on your screen. If the given condition is true, that block or that part of code will be executed. If the given condition is false, if the condition evolves to false, that block of code will be skipped. So these are actually called decision statements. These statements take decisions, right? These take decisions on the basis of the given condition. If the condition is true, these statements are going to perform its work. Otherwise, they will be skipped, right? So you will know about its use later on when we practice with it practically. So we have basically three statements in we have three decision statements. The first one is if statement. So let's talk about it. What is an if statement? If anyone has question till now, you can go to the chat option and ask your question and I'm going to answer you. Thank you. So let's talk about if statement. If statement executes. This is one of the decision statement. This statement executes if the given condition is true. If the given condition evolves to false, if that turns to be a false condition, that block under the if statement will be skipped, right? So if the condition is true, that block of code will be executed. Otherwise, it will be skipped. So let's talk about its syntax. This is the syntax. You have to write if keyword in small letters, in small alphabets. Then you have to put parentheses, and then in this area you have to put your condition. You have to set your condition. So if this condition remains true, these statements which are defined inside the if statement will be executed. Otherwise, they will be skipped. So you have to make a body for the if statement by putting curly braces, and whatever you write between these curly braces, that will be considered as a part of the if statement, or as the part of the if body. You can call it if body as well. So this is it, guys. Hello, I'm new here. How can I record this lecture? Don't worry, I'll be uploading this lecture on my YouTube channel, so you guys can access it later on. If you have any question, you can even rewatch it, so no worries. Okay, so this is if statement. If the given condition remains true, these statements which are defined inside these curly braces will be executed. If this condition turns to be false, these statements defined inside the curly braces will be skipped. So is there any question? If there's no question, let's work with it practically. So I'm just going to open up my compiler. You can see that, and we're going to work with if statement. Okay, so well, we'll take a simple example. Let's declare a variable with name x, and I will tell the user to enter any number, right? Enter any number, and then I will get that number. I will store its value in x variable. And now let's apply the if condition here, how it's going to work. Let's see. So just write if, and then in these brackets you have to set the condition. So what can be the condition here? I want to show to the user at first, enter any number, then user will be entering any number, and that number will be checked. if there is that condition, or is that is that given number greater than 100 or not. If the given number is greater than 100, user will be prompted that you have entered a number which is greater than 100. And if it is not greater than 100, right, so user will be prompted that you have entered a number which is less than 100. So let's work with it. So just type that variable name. If x is greater than, see, I'm using relational operators. I told you guys in the previous lecture that you will come to know about its use later on in our new lectures, in our upcoming lectures. So if x is greater than 100, right, if x is greater than 100, we'll put curly braces, and now I have to write my statements between these curly braces as the part of the if statement, which will be considered the body of the if statement. So I'm going to write a statement, a single statement, to tell the user that you have entered a number greater than 100. So you have entered a number which is greater than 100. So this message will be shown to the user. And if the given number, if the inputted number is less than 100, user, this part of the program will be skipped. So first of all, we're working with if statement, and then later on we're going to modify it with another statement that's just coming up in this lecture. So let's compile this program by pressing F9, and now it's compiling, and see what really happens. So now it's compiling. If anybody has questions, go to the chat option and kindly ask your question, because I want you guys to learn something. Okay. So now you can see the result. I'm being prompted that enter in number. Suppose if I give number which is less than 100, suppose 80, right? Suppose 80. If x is greater than 100, so this number, these statements, the statement that I've written inside the if statement has been skipped because I have not given the number which is greater than 100. So let's rerun it. Now I'm going to give a number which is greater than 100. Suppose I enter another number, 110. So you can see the difference. Now I got the message from the compiler, you have entered a number greater than 100, right? It happens because of the given condition. I've written in the condition that if the x value becomes greater than 100, you have to show this message to the user, which is you have entered a number that is greater than 100. And means when the condition turns to be false, if the user has entered a value which is less than 100, then these statements, the statement or the statements which are defined inside the if body, right, between these curly braces, or the if block you can call it, will be skipped, as I told you at the start of this lecture. So let's run it again. If I put 100 here, what we're going to get? We still don't get this this as our output, because the condition still gets false. If x is greater than 100, so x is not greater than 100. I mean, the value I entered is not greater than 100, but it is equal to 100. That's why this statement is still being skipped. So if I change this sign with equal operator, if x is greater than or equal to 100, you have entered number greater than or equal to 100. We'll modify this message equal to or equal to 100. So now let's compile it again and see what really happens. Now it's compiling. Let me run it. And you can see the result, entered in number. Now if I put 100 here, I will get this message. You have entered a number which is greater than 100 or equal to 100. So this is how if statement works. Now let's run it again. You can see that enter in number. If I put a number which is less than 100, I will not get that message in my output, because as I told you guys that if statement is one of the decisional statement, and if statement actually takes decisions. It works on the given condition, on the basis of the given condition, right? So it takes decisions, right? If the condition turns to be false, the if block will be skipped. If the condition is true, the if block will be executed. I hope you guys understand this point, and there will be no problems with you guys regarding this point, regarding this if statement. If you have any question, go to the chat option and kindly ask your question. If not, we're going to head for the next decisional statement, which is called else statement. Now we have another statement which is called else. So what is an else statement? Let's discuss it. So this statement executes when the condition for if statement evaluates to false. You see that? All right, now we're taking a lecture in English. Don't worry, I've had several lectures in Urdu as well. You can watch them on my YouTube channel. Yeah, you'll get some of them, right? So no problems, no worries. So let's talk about else statement. This executes when the condition for if statement evaluates to false. Now you have to use else statement after using if statement. See the syntax. This is the syntax for else statement. When the condition given for if statement turns to be false, and if you have defined an else statement under the if statement, then that block will be executed, then else block will be executed. Do you guys get it? If this condition turns to be false, then whatever you have written in else block, that block will be executed. So this is called else statement. When the condition given in if statement evaluates to false, then the else block will be executed. If the condition given in if statement is true, then else will be skipped, right? Because if by on is going to work, if the condition is true, if block will be executed, otherwise skip. But if you have defined an else statement under the if statement, then if statement will be executed definitely, but the else statement is going to come into play. So let's work with it practically. And if you have any question up till now, go to the chat option and ask your question. So now let's modify this program. All right, let's modify this program by putting an else statement here. Let's make a body for else statement. And now what I want to modify in this program, that if I enter the value which is greater than 100, the user will be prompted that you have entered a number which is greater than 100. But if a user has entered a number which is less than 100, then still user will be prompted that you have entered a number which is less than 100. Right? So let's modify this message as well. You have entered a number greater than 100. Now let's work with else statement. And in else statement, I want to write you have entered a number less than 100. It's such a simple example. Right? It's such a simple example. I think there's none of complications. Let's compile it. My program is compiling and it's finally done. I've got 0 errors. And now let me run it by pressing F10. You see the result. Enter any number. Now what is going to happen, guys? Please be attentive. If I put a number which is greater than 100, then if block will be executed. And I will get the messages output. You have entered a number greater than 100. And if I enter a number which is less than 100, right? If I give any number to the program which is less than 100, then I will get this message. The if statement will be executed, but the else is going to be, if statement will be skipped, but the else statement is going to come into play and is going to be executed. So I will get the message as you have entered a number less than 100. So let's work with it. First of all, I'm going to enter a number which is greater than 100, right? I'm going to enter suppose 1000, which is also true. I mean, the condition is going to be true, is going to evaluate to be true. So if I put 1000, I get the if message. I get the message which I have defined inside the if statement. You have entered a number greater than 100. And I told you guys, if the condition given in if statement is true, then else block will be skipped. If the condition given in if statement is false, then the block given in else statement is going to be executed. But if I have not defined the else statement, then the if is just going to be skipped, and the remaining program, if you have more lines of code below the if statement, will run. Okay, so this is the result. Now I'm going to enter a number less than 100, and I will get this message on my screen. You have entered a number less than 100, right? Because the condition given in if statement will turns to be false, and the else body, else function, else statement is going to be executed. Now if I put a number, if I enter a number less than 100, suppose 50, you see that, you see the difference. You have entered a number less than 100. Now that was the difference between if and else statement. We use else statement under the if statement. If you use else statement, it's never going to work that way. So you must use else statement below the if statement. So if the condition given in if statement turns to be false, the else block will be executed. If the condition given in if statement is true, then the if block will be executed and else will be skipped. So that's how it's going to work. This is called else statement, and you can call it if else statement as well, because if and else, so it's collectively called if else statement, right? So if you have any question, go to the chat option. I don't know why I'm not getting even a single question. That there can two things can actually happen. You guys don't understand a single point, or you guys know everything. These are the two possibilities. Now I don't know which one is true. Okay, so this was else statement, right? Now we're going for the third one, and the third one is called else if statement. So what is else if statement? It's a bit tricky, but just be attentive. So what is else if statement? This else if statement has to be defined between the if and else statement. Else if statement has to be defined between the if and else statement. It executes if the condition given in if statement is evaluates to false, right? If the condition given in if statement evaluates to false, then else if statement will be executed. So let's work with it. Now, as I said in this description, that else if statement has to be defined between if statement, right? This is if statement and else statement. So else if is going to be in the middle of both of them, right? In the middle of them. So else if. So what is else if? Let's understand this structure. What is the syntax of else if structure? So first, right, there is going to be a condition. I forgot it. Let me write it here. This is a syntax for else if statement. So if this condition returns or turns to be true, then both of the else statement and else if statement, both of them is going to be skipped, and if body, the statements defined under if condition, will be executed, right? That's simple. Now what if the condition turns to be false? What is going to happen? Do you guys have any answer? I'm waiting for your reply. If this condition, if the if condition turns to be false, then what will be executed? What is going to happen, and what is going to be skipped? I'm waiting for your answer. Go to the chat option and please answer this question. If this condition turns to be false, what is going to happen next in the control flow of the program? Go to the chat option and please answer this question. I'm waiting for your answer. Oh, I see. I'm still not getting any answer. That's exactly. You're totally right, brother. Else if part will be executed. Thank you for answering. So else if part will be executed. Exactly, brother. Thank you for responding. I got two answers. That's pretty great. That's I just ask you these questions so that you guys can engage with the lecture in a better way. So if the if condition turns to be false, else if body will be executed, right? Else if body will be executed. And I forgot that there has to be a condition for else if statement as well, right? If this condition turns to be false, then else if condition will be checked. If this condition is true, else if will be executed. If this condition is also false, then else block will be executed, right? So there I made a mistake. So let me modify it. There has to be defined between, yeah, if the condition given in else if statement evolves to true, it will be executed, right? Let me remove it. It executes if the given condition in if statement evolves to, yeah, that's fine. It also has its own condition which has to be checked. It also has its own condition. Like you have to put a condition along with else if statement as well, because if there is no condition, then what should be the difference between else statement and else if statement? That's why we put condition here. So okay guys, let's see it again. If the condition given in if statement turns to true, if statement will be executed, these both will be skipped. And if the given condition in if statement turns to be false, else if will be first checked. The condition given in else if statement will be checked. If this condition is true, these statements defined under else if statement will be executed and else will be skipped. If this condition also turns to be false, then else body will be executed at the end, because we don't define any condition along with else statement, but we have to define a condition. We have to set a condition along with if statement and also with else if statement. So let's work with it practically and let's modify this program. So what we can modify in this program so that I can use if statement, else if statement, and also else statement, right? So let's think about it. If I enter a value greater than 100, right, I will get the message you entered a number which is greater than 100. And else if x, I told you I have to set also condition for else if statement as well. So if x is greater than, if x is less than, you can say, or if x is less than 50, right? If I enter a message, if I enter a number which is less than 50, I will get this message, you have entered a number less than 50, right? So let's see if it works the right way. Now we have to define else statement as well. Otherwise, I will get a number, I will get a message, you have entered, or well, let me modify it. I guess it should not work. If x is greater than 100, you have entered a number greater than 100. If x is less than 100, right? If x is less than 100, you have entered a number less than 100. Else, you can try here, the else body is executed, right? So you guys can easily understand it. The else body is executed. So when this is going to run, right? I guess this is never going to run because this condition will be true or this one is going to be true. So if I put it like this, if entered a number less than 50, let's work with it. I got confused, I don't know. So now it's compiling. Now let me run it. Enter any number. If I enter a number which is greater than 100, you have entered a number greater than 100, which means if body has been executed and else if and else statements both are being skipped. So now if I enter a number which is less than 50, I mean, I want else if statement to be executed. So if I enter a number 40, which is less than 50, I get this message. You have entered a number less than 50, right? So the else body is never going to be executed in this case. So now let's change it, right? We can change this program. If x equal to 5, so tell the user you have entered 5. Now it's a simple example. If x equals to 10, tell user you have entered 10, right? Else, right? Else you entered a number other than 5 or 10. Now it will work. See, if I enter 5, I will get the message you have entered 5. If I enter 10 as my input, I will get the message you have entered 10. And if I enter any other integer, else body will be executed because these both conditions will be evaluated to false. So let's run this program and we will understand this once again. We'll try to understand its syntax again. So now enter any number. If I enter 5, if body will be executed because this condition will evaluate to be true, and else if and else statement, both of them will be skipped, right? So let's work with it. If I enter 5, I got this message, you have entered 5 because I have defined it inside if body. And now I want else if body to be executed, so I'll have to enter 10. You have entered 10 because this condition turns to be true. That's why the else if body will be executed and else will be skipped. Now, if I enter a number neither 5 nor 10, so what I will be going to get, suppose I enter 100. You entered a number other than 5 or 10 because it's not equal to 5 or 10. 100 is never going to be equal to 5 or 10. So that's how it works, guys. These are basics of C++ language, and you see that you will learn about these, right? If else if statement, you will find these decisional statements in other programming languages as well, right? What happened if you use single equal in this case? Right, that's a nice question. So in the previous lecture, we were discussing operators, right? And I told you that this is equality operator, right? And this is equality operator, and a single operator, single equality. This sign is assignment operator. So this will not work because this is assignment operator, right? So now let's see that it's not working. I'm getting an error because this is equality operator. This operator is used for checking both operands. Are both operands equal or not? An assignment operator is used for assigning values to variables. Suppose we put here in text assignment operator. We simply call it equal, like we say x equals to 5 or whatever, but it's actually assignment operator. So x equals to 5. So what does it mean? It means assign 5 value. The right operand is going to be assigned to the left one. So 5 is being assigned to the x variable. So if you use x variable in your program, right, if you use x variable, so it would refer to 5, it will indicate 5, right? If I say x plus 5, so I will get the answer as 10 because 5 has already been stored in x variable. Yes, exactly. You guys have not watched the previous lecture, because in the previous lecture I'm going step by step, right? I'm just running these lectures step by step, so you guys don't miss any point. This is assignment operator, and the one that I've used here, this is called equality operator. Okay, this is called equality operator. So I hope this is clear. If it is not clear, come on, ask me questions and I'm going to answer. I love answering questions because it also increases my knowledge. Right? So if I enter a number which is neither 5 nor 10, I will get this message. The else body will be executed because these both conditions will be evaluated to false. So this is how we work with if else statement, else statement. And now here's another deal. I have a question for you guys. Can I use more else statements in this program? What if I define another else statement here below? If I define another else statement down below, is that valid or not? If that's valid, say yes. If that's invalid, say no. I'm waiting for your answers because I want to clear a point right up here. So that's why I'm asking some questions here. If I define another else statement straight below the else statement, right? Right below the else statement, I'm defining another else statement. So is this valid or is it invalid? Please let me know in the chat option. And I've got a few more questions for you guys. Then we're going to wind up this lecture, right? Because we have got 3 decisional statements in C++. There is another one, another, but we'll discuss it in another session. So go to the chat option and answer this question. Can I define another else statement below the else statement? Below this else statement, can I define another one? Is that valid or invalid? I'm waiting for your answers. All right, I'm waiting. If you guys not answering, let me answer it. Okay, I got 2 answers. One answer is correct. One answer is wrong. So no, we cannot define else statement below the else statement. I've got 2 answers. Yeah, one is correct one. So we cannot define 2 else statements because it will not make any sense, right? Like we have to define one else statement in this structure. Why would I need another one, right? Now there's another question. Can I define 2 else if statements? Like what if I put another else if statement here? Right? If I put another else if statement here, is that valid or not? And I give any condition here, is that valid or invalid? Can I define more else if statements in this entire structure? I am waiting for your answers. Please be quick to answer this question. Can I define more else if statements? I got 2 answers. Thank you for your answer, guys. You already know everything, right? So yes, we can define more else if statements, and it's simple. This condition, I mean, all of these conditions will be checked in this structure. Whatever condition turns to be true, that block will be executed. If none of these conditions turns to be true, then else block will be executed. It's pretty simple. Now let's define another else if statement here. and I'm going to give a condition here. Else if x equals to 15, right? Tell the user you have entered 15, right? You have entered 15 and you have entered a number other than 5, 10 and 15, right? Now if I entered 15 as my input, so I will get this message. This else if will be executed because this condition will be evaluated to true. So this block will be executed, else will be skipped, and these the upper statements will also be skipped. So now let's run this program. It's compiling. And now let's run this program. Enter any number. So if I put 15 here, I'll get this message. You have entered 15 because this block, this third else if statement has been executed. All of the conditions were being checked and this turns to be true. So that's why this block is being executed. So all of these conditions has to be checked, and whatever condition turns to be true, their block will be executed. If none of the condition turns to be true, so if all turns to be false, then else block will be executed as our last possibility, as our last option. So these are called if statement, else if statement, else statement. I hope this is clear, right? There's another thing, but we'll also we can also define another if statement inside if statement, but that is called nested if statement. We'll talk about it in upcoming lectures, right? Yes, exactly. I'm from Pakistan. I'm called as IK, but my real name is Iltaf Khan. Thank you for this stream. You guys really made my day for joining this live stream. I've got so many answers, and we'll continue. We will continue this series of lectures in which we will cover all the basics of C++. For now, this was our 6th lecture. If you guys have not watched the previous lecture, I will provide the links in our WhatsApp groups, right? And also tell your friends who are interested to learn C++, and they can also join this lecture. It's for everybody. So thank you for taking your time, and this lecture will be uploaded. This lecture will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, so you guys can watch it later on. And yeah, what's the time in your country? So it is about 9 p.m. and I'm going to wind up this lecture. I don't want to take any more of your time. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for watching this lecture, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care, everybody.